Well, howdy. My name is Adam Savage. I'm in my cave shop in San Francisco, and I am I'm answering questions about my show MythBusters that we made from 2003 to 2016. And today's question comes from tested patron Cindy Klenk. Cindy wants to know, after having a few years to think about it, what lingers in your mind about your U-2 flight? The Dragon Lady. Yeah, that's what the U-2 spy plane is called. She says, years ago, I worked at the place the U-2 was developed. The hangars were still there. And part two of her question, she wants to know, in your ride with the Blue Angels in the FA-18 Hornets, how close did you come to blacking out in the positive G maneuvers? Oh, I didn't come close at all to blacking out. I blacked out. Full stop. Everyone blacks out. Like the Blue Angels pilots we were talking to said, it doesn't matter what kind of training you had. They can make anyone pass out. And they can make anyone throw up, they said. And I did both. I'm going to answer your question backwards. I'm going to start with the Blue Angels, which was an incredible episode. That was super fun to shoot. It was an amazing group of pilots and professionals. One thing I didn't know is that I thought the Blue Angels was like some special rotation of pilots. But if you're a carrier pilot, if you land jets on carriers, you're a Blue Angel. Like there's nothing more special than that to make you a Blue Angel. So it's a kind of a regular rotation the pilots go into. It's not some super elite, like hand-picked group. The pilots who land on carriers are already that group of super elite, hand-picked, like insanity skills. There are so many stories. I broke the speed of sound 7 times. I pulled 7.5 Gs without passing out twice. Yeah, that is super intense. And I passed out 3 times over the course of 2 flights. I did 3 flights over 2 days. Being a passenger in an FA-18 is exhausting. It is akin to being a passenger in an Indy car, which I have also done, and is also exhausting for the same reasons. The centrifugal force moving you around. But the level of skill and the level of precision in the teams that are in the Blue Angels surpassed my possible understanding. I will give an example. I flew 3 times, and 2 of those times I was in the lead plane. But the 3rd time I was in the second plane for the way we were filming, and that was an even more impressive flight to me, because while we were going the same speeds, the pilot was showing me how they position in midair for flight maneuvers. And it's all about lining your eyes up as the pilot with some part of the plane that's next to you. It might be here and it might be here. And if you line up some part of your canopy with the Hornet's eye and some part of the logo, or actually on the wing of an F-18 Hornet, there is this little upright rectangle, and that's a airflow linearizer. I don't know exactly what it's for. Airflow, and it's for reducing the turbulence of airflow. But it has a yellow border around it and 2 marks. And if you line up one of those marks with the Hornet's eye, if I remember correctly, that will put you in a 1 plane back for a delta formation where everyone's flying like geese. And if you lined up with a different part, it's a different formation. And so each of the pilots has their knowledge of the choreography, and they go through it. They walk through the choreography on the ground first, which is really neat, the special choreography, and then they go up in the planes and they do it. So that was neat to see the sort of inside baseball of how they achieve those maneuvers. But realize that I'm in an airplane traveling at like 600 miles an hour while I'm having this conversation. And the pilot who's flying is conversationally telling me about this. And he's like, for instance, if I want to line up the mark with the eye of the hornet, and then he does it. And okay, so this is us, this is them. So he's like, I can line it up here, I can line it up here, I can line it up here, I can line it up here. So those maneuvers I just did with my hand, picture a 30,000 pound plane going 600 miles an hour, moving in relationship to another object with the same dead stop precision, no backlash, no nothing. I'm serious. Like, you're in a boat, it takes a long time to turn, there's a lot of long tail from your actions. You move big things, they have momentum, they shift, they shake, they shimmy. These planes, nothing. It was mechanically magic. I've never been in a device that precise, that was that large. Since then, Chris Hadfield told me the Hornet is the plane that you can forget that you're flying. And not that like, oh, I forgot I'm flying. It's that it's such an intuitive machine that you can kind of let go of once you know enough about the flying, you can let go of the controls, and it just feels like it's an extension of your thought. That sounds amazing. That kind of perspective from the team, from the Blue Angels, was thrilling, absolutely thrilling. I asked my pilot, who freelanced for Federal Express at the same time as he was in the Blue Angels, which I thought was pretty neat. I said, what is the hardest thing you've ever done in the Hornet? And he said, the most difficult thing is landing on a carrier in stormy seas. Specifically for him, it was the North Atlantic in the middle of the night in stormy seas. And he told me something I didn't know about landing on a carrier in heavy surf, heavy water. Heavy water? This thing barely works anymore. In heavy swells. So the carrier goes up and down with the waves, and the plane's trying to land on the carrier. There's an optimal relationship. And the optimal relationship, if I remember correctly, is that the plane has to land on the carrier at the bottom of the rise. If it catches it on its way up, it's just going to bounce right off the deck. So it's got to hit it on the downslope. Plus, you can't really see the carrier from the plane, this pilot reported to me. And so you're trusting this guy on the front of the carrier. Look, I know that so many people watching this have actually done this and have worked on these carriers and know this way better than I do. Please forgive if I'm forgetting key details for this. But he told me there's a guy on the deck who is like seeing you. He can see your plane, and he's got you on the comm, and he's telling you 1 degree left, 2 degrees right, stay up, go down. And you are trusting him. That is a level. So years and years and years ago, my parents were very good friends with an early test pilot named Nick Jones. And if I remember correctly, Nick was the generation of pilots after the NASA generation. So like the 70s, right? Not the 60s, but the 70s. And he had flown a lot of planes, and he said, specifically when you're a test pilot, there's no such thing. If you're a test pilot, there's no such thing as pilot error. And I asked what that meant, and he said, well, you can't be, you're always flying something that has never been flown before. So you can't worry if it's going to stay in the air or not. You just can't have that be part of the mental palace of stuff you've got to remember. You got to trust the machine, and you got to assume that you have all the control. The level of sort of taking on the responsibility that is crazy intense to me. And that's what it takes to land on a carrier, from what I understand. The other thing that blew my mind about pulling 7.5 Gs and not passing out was how much energy it took from me. They give you an exercise when you are learning to do this, where you go, hekka, 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 like you're having a particularly difficult bowel movement. And you do this to keep the blood that's here pressured up into your head. So you do that with the pilot before you leave. Everyone knows that you know how to do it. And you get up there, and the pilot will say, time to do your breathing. And you start to do the breathing, and he pulls into a heavy bank. And I mean, you're just doing it with all your strength. And even with all your strength, even with doing it with all my strength, I saw a tunnel forming. I saw a tunnel forming, and the pilot who's talking to me can see, and he can only see me in this like little tiny mirror on his right. He can see that I'm passing out. He's like, stay with me, Adam. And so I start, hecka, 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 even more. And the tunnel starts to go away. Like I am using the blood in my body to keep my consciousness. Just amazing, just totally bizarre. But what you should realize is the pilot who's talking to me and saying, hey, stay with me, Adam, stay with me, he is doing the same amount of muscular work keeping the blood in his head as I am, except he's works out every day for a couple of hours because he has to in order to be able to use his own body to keep from passing out from the G-load. Right, because the Blue Angels and Hornet pilots don't wear G-suits. They can't because when the G-suit inflates, as it inflates, it can affect your ability to steer the yoke, and that steering is everything to the Hornet. Thus, they do it all with this piece of equipment. But you asked about the U-2. The thing that I remember most about the wonderful team at Beale Air Force Base was they only let one civilian every couple of years fly in those things. I'm super grateful to have been one of those civilians. And it was a delight to spend a week up at Beale working with that team. They love their Dragon Lady. They love those planes. They love them. They love their history. They love being part of that history. They are proud, rightfully proud of the incredible longevity of these old planes and what they can do. And they delight in showing other people. So it's every aspect about flying in the Dragon Lady was like, first of all, it's an incredible piece of equipment. It has a mind-blowing history to it. It's done impressive things. And then there's this team that takes care of it. And in taking care of it, literally, you should understand, they take that whole plane down to its rivets every few years and rebuild it from scratch in order to make sure that all of the systems work perfectly. It is non-trivial to keep to keep a plane in the air for decades and decades and decades. And there are still things that the Dragon Lady can do and does that there are no other options for. So my most primary memory, aside from the thrill of being able to see so much of California in a single glance, was the pride and pleasure of working with the team at Beale. Seriously. It was really, really fun. And it was one of the later seasons. I think it was the second to last season. Yeah, I will never forget being able to have done that and being able to go to the edge of space, see the blackness of space, see how thin. I mean, yeah, they allowed me to do that, and I will be forever grateful. Yeah, I know I've expressed my gratitude a million times in this video already, but come on, it's like, the more I think you're seeing, I'm getting more excited as I talk about it than I was at the beginning of this question. Okay, no, it's time for me to go get some dinner. Thank you guys so much for the awesome questions. Tested patrons, keep submitting your questions, and I will continue to answer them. And as always, I will see you guys next time. Stay safe.